Welcome to the Slow Wine Guide 2021. I'm here with Matt Dees, winemaker at Jonata. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Delighted. Can't wait to learn more about your special site there down in Ballard Canyon. So, we're going to be talking about two of the three wines that will be featured in the 2021 guide. So, tell us a little bit about where you are on the Central Coast.
Absolutely. I've had the pleasure of making the wines for two very special vineyard sites for the last 16 years, basically. We are located right in the heart of Santa Barbara County. The first vineyard I'm going to talk about is called the Hilt. So the Hilt is a Pinot Noir and Chardonnay project predominantly, with a little bit of Syrah coming online. But as big Pinot Noir and Chardonnay fanatics, we realized immediately upon moving to Santa Barbara County that we're in the middle of kind of a revolution here. There's this just explosion of incredible Pinot Noir and Chardonnays coming out of this region. And it all kind of stems from the fact that Santa Barbara County is an east-west valley, it's a transverse maritime throat, which is very rare in the continental United States, in that the plate tectonic shift basically created this small little pebble in the grand scheme of plate tectonic plates that kind of shifted. And so where the ocean to our south is actually a little bit warm, i.e. one could surf if they were brave without a wetsuit, the ocean immediately to our west, which we are basically open to via our valley, is ice cold. It's the same current coming down from Alaska. So all of our temperature here in western Santa Barbara County is moderated by this very cold body of water. The fog that comes in and the cold wind that blows through. And again, as Pinot Noir and Chardonnay fanatics, when we moved here in 2004, we tasted everything being made in this county. We tasted every wine from every producer we could get our hands on, and we knew immediately that the quality was just through the roof. There is a specific character to the Chardonnays and Pinots from here, and we connected immediately. And while we love Burgundy, we love everything about Burgundy, red and white, we didn't want to make it here. I think that in California, we're blessed with this unending sunshine, this incredibly dry, for better or worse, and incredibly long vintage, which we kind of view that we're kind of sheltered by what we call refrigerated sunshine, which is this, it's always sunny. I mean, I'm looking out my window right now and it's 69 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit and bright sun, as it will be for the next 2 months. And we get these really long days of sunshine. But while we didn't want to make Burgundy, we did want to find a home. We wanted to find a vineyard where we could farm and we could grow our brands and raise and nurture our brands, where we could highlight a couple of specific flavor profiles, textural components, and structural integrity that we were really looking for. Back in 2014, we found our ideal home. And the first one we're talking about is our 2017 Estate Chardonnay. And estate for us means the vineyards we own here, which are the Hilt Estate. Again, it's about a 4,000 acre parcel with about 200 acres planted. It is about 10 miles from the ocean as the crow flies. So it's basically abutting the ocean in terms of viticultural geology, or geography, sorry. And at this site, we could capture fruit. We could capture the textural decadence of California Chardonnay from the sun, but we could also maintain three things that we thought were integral, three aspects that we thought were necessary to produce the kind of Santa Rita Hills wine we wanted to make. The first and the most important is electricity. I find that Chardonnay without electricity is kind of a waste of time. I think that acidity, and a very heightened level of acidity, of brightness, of vibrancy is the key factor to make Chardonnay exceptional. And, I don't think we've ever bottled a Chardonnay under, or I should say, over 3.2 pH. We usually bottle about 3.18 with a TA of around 7.5 grams. I mean, screeching, wonderful, bright, vibrant acidity.
Definitely. Electric, alive.
Yes. The second was that we wanted to find a site that helped us capture the specific flavor profile, the citrus flavor profile that to me is predominant in Santa Rita Hills Chardonnay, which is, it's kind of a green citrus. It includes the citrus zest, like lime zest, and also the pith. there's a structural kind of wonderful savoriness to the tannic. I mean, really the structural component of the Chardonnays out here. The third thing we really wanted to find was salinity. I think Santa Rita Hill Chardonnay is driven by this wonderful sensation that when you eat a raw oyster, and then you have that joyous moment where you realize you forgot to drink the saltwater nectar out of the bottom of the shell, and you sip that last little shot of 20 mils of salt water. That is absolutely on the finish of the Chardonnays from this region. And our home here, the Hilt property, is known in the Spanish name back from the land grant days as Rancho Sal Si Puedes, which means basically get the hell out if you can. It is it is a cold, windy, steep, fairly dangerous, fairly rough place to spend time. But you know, you combine all of those factors with the fact that it's planted on pure diatomaceous earth, and you've kind of have a site that pushes Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in this essence all the way to its edge, way past its comfort zone. I mean, these vines are struggling and scrapping to set root, to set fruit, to ripen fruit, to get a canopy. It's hard. And to me, that struggle is evident in the wines. There's a nervy, kind of tense balance, or like almost like a tango being danced in the glass. And with the Chardonnay, for us, you know, we like to use maybe about 25 or 30% New French, just to bring a little bit of roundness, suppleness, to balance out a little bit of the electricity, a little bit of the salty qualities, the tartrate salt quality, and the rest is neutral and stainless. We don't really focus on very much batonnage because we have depth, we have density. And, you know, beyond that, it's a fairly hands-off process. I've always believed that as stewards of these great vineyards and as very responsible farmers, which is what the Hilt is in reference to, it's we farm these beautiful properties our owner has given us basically the control of to the hilt, to the nth degree. And I kind of believe, especially with the Chardonnay, you know, that we farm all year, and I go out and pick, and you know, there's a knock on the door and there's a beautiful marble statue of fruit sitting there. And as winemakers, we have a giant kind of chisel and a big hammer in one hand, and then we have a very fine grain sandpaper in the other. And we choose the sandpaper route, which is let's smooth some rough edges. Let's see what's lacking. Let's see what Mother Nature has given us, what we've been blessed with, and let's enhance that, as opposed to let's take the chisel and let's change this shape. And it wants to be this kind of Chardonnay, but we're gonna make something different. And it's a very simple process in the facility, and clean ferments, oxidation of the juice, very low use of sulfur throughout the process, and just embracing what nature and this diatomaceous earth and cold climate have given us.
Fantastic. You know, I see that new oak showing up. It's just like a flicker of nutmeg, a little bit of brown spice, just adding a little complexing secondary note there, but just the fruit just radiating in this wine. And the saline minerality is such deliciousness. Gets your mouth watering right away.
Yeah, it needs that, right? It especially living in Southern California, you know, I always want a white to energize me, to make me want more, to make me salivate, to make me yearn for more kind of fresh acidity.
Yeah,
this wine
keep it fresh.
those boxes. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for shedding some light on what it's like to be a vine out there.
Yeah, I don't envy them, but I'm certainly thankful for their existence.
Yeah, actually, absolutely. Okay, so I'm not actually tasting. I have tasted the Hilt 2017 Pinot Noir. I tasted a couple months ago with you online. Tell us a little bit about this wine, and then we'll taste the Todos.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So the vineyard we own, the 200 acres here, which we call the Hilt Vineyard, are actually made up of two separate vineyards. Basically the closest to the ocean being Radian. It tends to be more extreme on diatomaceous earth. The further east is called Bent Rock. And I think those are great names because Radian gives you the feeling that it's short, it's sharp, it's steep, there's angles, it's more edgy, it's more vibrating than bent rock, which is actually lower elevation, further from the sea, more protected from the wicked winds blowing off the ocean. And to me, the joy of the estate Chardonnay and the estate Pinot Noir specifically, I guess, is that you get this yin and yang between these two properties. They both speak of the southwest corner of the Santa Rita Hills, but they both have different accents, if you will. And basically, where we were shooting for a site that gave us electricity and salinity and that real citrus zest quality for Chardonnay, we were looking for a site that would also give us what we call the dark side of Pinot Noir, and that I lovingly refer to as a hint of corruption, where we want something beyond that kind of sugar and spice and everything nice that can make Pinot somewhat forgettable. Anyone who's had the joy of tasting Pinot Noir grapes in a vineyard knows that, I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth. Pinot Noir it's soulful, it's a struggle, it has sharp edges, it has tannin, it has, you know, on our site specifically, where the wind blows so hard, we ended up with berries about the size of BBs, and, you know, skins in some cases where the grapes are protecting their seeds,
Yeah.
you know, that are thicker than the berries.
Very thick.
Yeah. So we ended up in the same site finding our electricity and freshness with Chardonnay, as well as our darkness for Pinot, which was a dream come true as a winemaker. I mean, I'm the luckiest one alive. But with the Pinot Noir from Radian on the pure diatomaceous, amorphous diatomaceous earth, you get the smallest berries, you get this struggle between root and basically hydrophobic soil. And you know, that's a tough dance. And you end up with these wines that are just black in color. They are impenetrable in color. And there's a brooding essence to their aromatics, their appearance. The attack of fruit on the mid palate is blackberries and black cherries and black pepper. But all of a sudden, they get very formal and they kind of like tighten up their ascot. You know, they get a little bit more structurally driven, and you get this very chalky, kind of mouth coating but forgiving tannic attack, and a very fresh, surprising side of it, which really wakes you up. And you take that aspect and you add that to bent rock, which, as I mentioned, is a little bit more protected. It's the soils are more profound. Instead of diatomaceous earth, like amorphous diatomaceous earth, we're dealing with like porcelainite forms of diatomaceous earth, where, you know, the shales and the cherts and more, I would say, more chemically interesting soils. As far as compounds and minerals, they're just the overall makeup of our soils at bent rock, they're more interesting. And the roots go deeper, and you end up with a different wine. Not better or worse, but certainly one that plays very well. The Pinot tends to be a little bit more round, a little more supple, a little bit more driven by, I would say, like a blood orange quality. There's a real red and orange kind of attribute to it. And the structure is a little softer. It lingers. It's not as abrupt with its freshness and its chalkiness to kind of bind your saliva. And you put those two together and you end up with this wonderful melange of this unlikely marriage, if you will, between the red and kind of supple and the darker, kind of more chalky structure of Radian. And it's just a fascinating wine. It's by far my favorite wine to blend. And at this point, it's certainly one of my favorite wines to drink.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think we have no trouble at all visualizing and imagining what the wine is going to be like in the glass. Great. And luckily I had the pleasure.
We'll get you out to come visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring
we'll
my down coat, you know, my wetsuit too.
I always jokingly say, you know, if we got out of the grape industry, we could get into either the wind harnessing or poison oak or rattlesnake business.
Yeah. You can combine those.
Yeah, it would take some creativity, but we could do it. I have faith.
Yeah. I spent some time in Santa Barbara. And I I have explored the coast a little bit there. So even though I haven't been to the vineyard, I have a good memory of what it's like to stand on that coastline. So, right.
Yeah.
So
You know
now,
what refrigerated? Yep.
last but not least, we have the Jonata Totos. And this is new to me, so I'm curious to get it in the glass and see what's happening.
And refresh my memory. This is 15 or 16?
I have 16.
Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely.
And this is Ballard Canyon. That's why I said Ballard Canyon in the intro.
Yeah, no. And look, this is a young region, right? And I think that's a really it's a good point you bring up. You know, so we represent right now where I'm sitting is in my office here at the Hilt Estate, and I am literally sitting. The line for the southwest edge of the Santa Rita Hills runs basically through our offices, and we are as close to the ocean, as far southwest as one can get. And as you move inland, obviously, because of this east-west mountain range. I mean, mountain's a little grandiose. These hills that run east.
Yeah, they're hills.
Yeah, we're not talking the Himalayas. We're not talking Pikes Peak, Mount McKinley even. But we are driven by this cold air coming in. And as you move further east, you're gaining a degree a mile roughly. So that right now here it's 69 to 72, like I said. In Ballard Canyon, which is about a 30-minute drive from here east, it's probably low 90s today.
Yeah, I was gonna say high 80s.
Yeah, high 80s. Yeah, let's be kind and say 87. So you're dealing with a massive difference, and where the diurnal shift here is this: you're dealing with cool days, cool nights, cool days, cool nights. As you move inland, you're getting to hot days and cold nights.
Cold nights. Yeah.
I remember we had frost on the hottest day of the year at Jonata back in 07. But a really wild kind of spread where you're dealing with an entire country of regions within a few short miles. And the story of Jonata is really interesting because these are all such young regions that when the owners bought the property in 1999, you know, we hired a French consultant to come out and look at these properties and look at our 600 acres at Jonata and say, look, this is sandy soil, very, very sandy, to the point of you're walking on a sand dune. And we asked our friend from France and we said, look, here's 600 acres. Here's a four-wheeler. Go drive through the property.
Find the dirt, yeah. Yeah,
and tell us, you know, kick the dirt. Let's see, what should we grow and where should we grow it? And after 2 days, our friend from Bordeaux said you should grow asparagus everywhere. And, you know, that didn't even light a match under us. That lit a bonfire underneath us as far as making us want to succeed. But I understand in a lot of regions, sand is not the most attractive. And I get it. I'm a soil
scientist. You're not going to have any phylloxera.
We do indeed have no phylloxera at all. Nematodes, it's up for argument. But so we then asked our neighbors and we said, look, we're not going to grow asparagus. We're going to grow grapes. What should we grow? And they said, well, historically speaking, in Ballard Canyon, you need to grow Syrah. Yeah. And I'm a history buff, and history is if the Crusaders brought your grapes back from the Holy Land, or the Romans built your terraces, or the Phoenician traders had something to do with your grapes getting to your region. If you had, neighbors from LA who planted 10 years before, it's very important, but I don't know that historically speaking is proper. I think it's a little grandiose. So we did grow Syrah. We do actually grow asparagus, to be fair, and it's very good. But we also grew the entire Noah's Ark of grapes because this is a young region and we need to be diligent and we need to do our groundwork. So we did Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, Viognier, Grenache, Syrah, Sangiovese, Merlot, Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, Petit Verdot, Petit Syrah. And now we're experimenting with Greek varieties, Xeno Mavro and Assyrtiko. So the Totos, for me, is the most wonderful wine in the world to describe that property, because people could say, what do you make from Jonata? And we make a great deal of wines from Jonata. But at the end of the day, Jonata Totos is everything together. It's everything and everyone. So it's really 10 varieties. It's the story of one kind of sandy, very, very unique property in this world. And it's one bottle under cork that explains what that property tastes like. Because of the very warm days and the very cold nights, you without a doubt get richness of fruit. You get a textural density, a hedonism to that wine. But again, a bit like I was talking about with Radiant Pinot Noir, you don't expect that structural, again, integrity, that kind of wall of very fine-grained tannins, of very high quality and very high quantity. And then you don't necessarily expect to get that vibrancy and that freshness of acidity. And that's all from the cold nights where we maintain acidity. It's really rather wild.
So is it Syrah based?
It is, and it shows in the 16. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's a little bacon fat. There's some meaty savoriness, that umami that we always love with Syrah, always after.
And it's interesting you bring that up. You know, we've learned a lot of lessons over the time of making these wines. One thing I've learned is that Syrah doesn't play well with others necessarily, and that in a lot of ways you can't make a cab blend, at least off our vineyards, and then introduce Syrah. Like, you can't have a party for Cabernet and invite your friend Syrah. It doesn't play well with others. But if you build a core of Syrah for just that core of dark fruit, and then you start bringing in your complexity from other grapes, and you bring in structure from Bordeaux, as far as the Cab Sauv and the aromatic complexity and lift from Cab Franc, and a little bit of textural deviation and support in a lot of ways from Merlot, and spice and acidity from Petit Verdot, etc.
I was going to say PV.
Yeah, you can put it in there. And you put all those together, and that's really where the magic of that wine comes from. Fascinating bottle. I wish I was drinking it.
Very meaty, really exciting. I've got some savory lamb lined up. I think I have an idea. I have a plan.
Let me know how it goes. Should go famously.
Right. So you've got Bordeaux grapes. You've mentioned a whole handful here that are blended in. Anything completely unexpected in the blend?
Yeah, there's always a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc, a little bit of Semillon. Viognier isn't a surprise. To me, if you give that wine 20 minutes in glass, it's funny. It takes a while for Viognier to emerge sometimes. Lychee,
tropical kind of fruit. Yep.
Yeah, even more like jasmine. It's really interesting. That starts to come out. We use Sangiovese to a small extent in the Todos every year. Kind of along the lines of the brightening and freshening of Petit Verdot, that kind of just jolt of acidity.
Great.
But for me, more than anything, it's a story of the relationship between Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon, and how these two regal, noble grapes can play together in a bottle. And on a sandy property that's windswept and maritime influenced here in Santa Barbara County, that, again, people think Southern California, they think, oh, it should be warm there. And Jonata can be. But Jonata also absolutely represents that dichotomy here, where at night it can be in the 40s. We get fruit here sometimes that in the middle of harvest is coming in at like 42 degrees. And, that's a real cold soak. That's a cold soak that go on for weeks by the time you warm it up.
That is reducing your carbon footprint, Matt.
Yes, it is indeed. That's what we're all about. I love it.
Great. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time this afternoon and really shedding some light on the complexity and the beauty of the terroir that produces these wines, and a little bit about your own philosophy as well, too. And we are thrilled that you're going to be with us in the 2021.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you down here soon.
Thanks very much, Matt. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.